The starship Eclipse drifted silently through the cold vastness of space. Its sleek metallic surface reflected the faint light of a distant star, but inside, tension filled the air. Captain Ryan Carter stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. He stared at the holographic display floating above the command table, showing a map of human-controlled space and the borders of alien territories. The lines were clean, precise, and final. Humanity had pulled back from the rest of the galaxy. Lieutenant Lisa Monroe approached him cautiously. She was younger than Ryan, with sharp eyes that missed little, and her voice carried both respect and concern. "Sir," she said softly, "the Council isn't going to like this." Ryan sighed without looking at her. "They don't have to like it," he replied. "We made our decision years ago. Humanity chose to focus on itself, not get dragged into someone else's wars or politics." Lisa hesitated, glancing at the other crew members on the bridge. Most were busy with their tasks, pretending not to listen. But she could see the unease in their faces too. "Yes, sir," she said finally, "but abandoning alliances doesn't mean we can ignore what's happening out there." Her tone grew firmer as she pointed to a blinking red dot on the display. "Those signals, they're getting stronger. Whatever is sending them isn't just passing by. It's watching us." Ryan turned to face her now, his expression hardening. "And what do you suggest we do? Go chasing shadows while Earth debates whether we even belong out here anymore?" His words came out sharper than he intended, but Lisa didn't flinch. "I'm suggesting we pay attention," she said calmly. "Something big is coming, Ryan. You know it, I know it, and everyone on this ship knows it. If we wait until it's knocking on our door, it'll be too late." Before Ryan could respond, an alert sounded from one of the consoles. A young officer named Jacob called out, "Captain." Another signal spike, much closer this time. "It's different, not like the others." Ryan moved quickly to Jacob's station, leaning over his shoulder to study the readings. The data showed a series of pulses, rhythmic yet irregular, almost like a heartbeat. "Where's it coming from?" he asked. "Sector 12, Jacob replied, "just outside the edge of our territory." Ryan straightened up, rubbing his temples. Sector 12 wasn't far, but it was close enough to make him uneasy. "Send a pro," he ordered. "Let's see if we can get more details before jumping to conclusions." As the order was carried out, Lisa stepped closer to him again. "Ryan," she said quietly, "this feels wrong. These signals, they're not random. Someone, or something, is testing us." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Maybe. But until we know for sure, we stick to protocol. No assumptions, no panic." Despite his calm demeanor, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa was right. For months, strange phenomena had been reported along the borders of human space. Ships vanishing without explanation, colonies reporting unusual activity in nearby systems. It all added up to something bigger than anyone wanted to admit. On the bridge, the crew worked silently, each person lost in their own thoughts. Some whispered about old legends of alien invasions, stories told to scare children. Others wondered if humanity's withdrawal had angered someone powerful, but no one dared say it aloud. When the probe returned its findings hours later, the image on the screen left everyone speechless. A massive structure floated in the darkness, a jagged metallic shape covered in glowing symbols that pulsed faintly. It wasn't natural, and it wasn't human. Ryan clenched his fists. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," he said, his voice low but steady. "Tell them we might have a problem." Lisa watched him closely, her heart racing. Whatever was out there, it wasn't going away. And deep down, she knew humanity's days of isolation were over. Dr. Emily Dawson stood in the freezing cold of the Arctic, her breath forming clouds in the icy air. Around her, a team of researchers worked tirelessly, brushing away layers of snow and ice to uncover something buried deep beneath the surface. The discovery had been accidental. A routine geological survey had picked up strange readings, leading them to this remote location. Now, as the ice melted away, ancient alien ruins began to emerge. Emily knelt down, running her gloved hand over the smooth metallic surface of the artifact. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen before, etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Her heart raced with excitement and fear. This wasn't just an archaeological find. It was a message from the past, written in a language no human had ever spoken. Back at the research base, Emily worked late into the night, poring over scans and translations. She pieced together fragments of text, slowly deciphering warnings etched into the metal. The words painted a grim picture. A powerful force had once swept across the galaxy, destroying civilizations and consuming everything in its path. The survivors had called it the HFY, a swarm of biomechanical beings driven by an insatiable hunger for resources. They were relentless, unstoppable, and nearly invincible. As Emily worked, news reached Earth of strange sightings near human colonies. Ships unlike any recorded design had appeared on the edges of inhabited systems. One report came from Daniel Hayes, a pilot stationed at a remote outpost. He described being ambushed during a routine patrol. His ship's systems had failed without warning, leaving him stranded in the void. Then a massive vessel emerged from the darkness. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, shifting and reforming as if alive. It hovered silently for what felt like hours before disappearing as suddenly as it had come. Daniel's encounter sent shockwaves through the military. Commanders debated whether his story was credible or merely the result of stress and isolation. But when more reports poured in, ships vanishing, colonies reporting unexplained phenomena, it became clear that something was out there. On board the Eclipse Asterisk, Captain Ryan Carter listened intently as Lisa Monroe briefed him on the latest updates. "It matches the pattern," she said, pointing to a map of recent incidents. "Whatever is out there, it's prodding our borders, testing us." Ryan frowned, leaning back in his chair. Testing us for what? If they wanted to attack, they could have done it already. "Maybe they're waiting," Lisa suggested. "Or maybe they're gathering information first." Before Ryan could respond, a transmission arrived from Earth Command. It contained Emily's findings, the warnings from the alien ruins. As Ryan read through the report, his expression grew darker. "This changes everything," he muttered. "If what she's saying is true." "It has to be," Lisa interrupted. "The timing is too perfect. These signals, the ships, the ruins, they're all connected. Something big is coming." Ryan nodded slowly, his mind racing. Humanity had withdrawn from galactic politics years ago, choosing to focus inward rather than engage with alien species. Now it seemed their decision might have left them vulnerable. Without allies, without knowledge of the wider universe, humanity was isolated and possibly unprepared for the threat looming on the horizon. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Emily continued her work, determined to unlock more of the alien text. She believed the ruins held answers, not just warnings, but clues about how the HFY had been defeated in the past. If she could piece together the strategy used by ancient civilizations, humanity might stand a chance. Thousands of light years away, Daniel sat alone in his quarters, replaying the memory of his encounter over and over in his mind. The ship hadn't attacked him. It hadn't even communicated. Instead, it had simply watched, as if studying him. The thought made his skin crawl. What did it want? And why had it let him live? Unbeknownst to anyone, the pieces of a puzzle were slowly falling into place. The ruins, the ships, the signals, they were all part of a larger picture. A picture that showed a galaxy teetering on the brink of war, and humanity, having turned its back on the stars, would soon find itself facing a choice: fight or fade into oblivion. The council chamber on the neutral planet of Solace hummed with tension. Representatives from various alien species sat around a large circular table, their expressions ranging from anger to suspicion. Captain Ryan Carter and Lieutenant Lisa Monroe stood at the center, feeling the weight of countless eyes on them. Humanity's decision to abandon its alliances years ago had left deep scars, and now those wounds were being reopened. Kale, an ambassador from the Varen race, spoke first. His voice was calm but carried an edge of frustration. You humans chose to leave us when we needed unity. Now you come here, asking for help. Why should we trust you? Ryan clenched his fists under the table but kept his tone steady. We didn't ask for this meeting, he replied. But we're here because something bigger than all of us is coming. Something none of us can face alone. Sarah, a diplomat from the aquatic Nymeri people, leaned forward, her gills flaring slightly, a sign of agitation. And what proof do you have? She demanded. Strange ships, signals in the dark, your own fear. Before Ryan could respond, Lisa stepped forward, holding up a tablet. We have evidence, she said firmly. Ancient ruins found on Earth contain warnings about a threat called the HFY, a swarm that once destroyed civilizations across the galaxy. We believe they've returned. The room fell silent as the representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Kale studied the images and text displayed on the tablet, his sharp eyes narrowing. If this is true, he said slowly, then humanity's withdrawal may have made us weaker, divided. We are vulnerable. As the discussion continued, chaos erupted outside the chamber. Alarms blared, and panicked voices filled the corridors. A massive attack had struck a nearby colony, a joint settlement shared by several species. The news spread quickly. Swarms of biomechanical creatures had descended upon the colony, wiping it out within minutes. Survivors described horrors beyond imagination. Ships that seemed alive, spewing endless waves of insect-like machines that tore through defenses effortlessly. Panic gripped the council as accusations flew. Some blamed humanity for provoking the attackers. Others accused rival factions of betrayal. Amid the shouting, Ryan raised his voice, cutting through the noise. This isn't about blame, he shouted. It's about survival. If we don't work together, none of us will make it. Reluctantly, Kale and Syrah agreed to cooperate. For now, they pledged ships and resources to form a coalition fleet, though distrust lingered in every word. Ryan knew it wouldn't be easy to lead such a fractured group, but he had no choice. Time was running out. Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, Daniel Hayes joined the crew after being summoned from his outpost. He brought first-hand knowledge of the mysterious ships, describing their eerie, organic nature and their ability to disable technology with ease. His account sent chills down everyone's spines, but it also gave them valuable insight into the enemy. Lisa took charge of coordinating strategies with the alien commanders, earning reluctant respect for her determination and clarity. She worked tirelessly to bridge gaps between cultures, translating technical jargon into terms everyone could understand. Meanwhile, Emily's findings reached the fleet, offering fragments of hope. Her translations hinted at weaknesses in the Sithera's hive mind structure, a potential way to defeat them if they could strike at the core. As preparations for battle began, Ryan found himself reflecting on humanity's mistakes. By turning inward, they had weakened not only themselves but the entire galaxy. Now, standing on the brink of war, he wondered if redemption was still possible, or if their isolation had doomed them all. The coalition fleet gathered near the edge of human territory, engines humming with anticipation. No one spoke of victory or glory. They were united by one goal: survival. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Exithera waited, their intentions unknown but their presence undeniable. Document. Part 4 The coalition fleet moved cautiously through the void, each ship keeping a safe distance from the others. Trust between the species was fragile, and old rivalries still simmered beneath the surface. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge of the Eclipse Asterisk, watching as alien vessels of all shapes and sizes formed an uneasy formation around his ship. The Varen cruisers glowed faintly with blue energy, while the Nymeri ships floated gracefully, their water-filled interiors shimmering like liquid glass. Humanity's contribution to the fleet seemed small in comparison, but Ryan reminded himself that unity mattered more than size. Lieutenant Lisa Monroe worked tirelessly to keep everyone focused. She spent hours in meetings with Kale, the Varen ambassador, and Syrah, the Nymeri diplomat, trying to coordinate strategies. Despite their shared goal, disagreements were constant. The Varens favored aggressive tactics, while the Nymeri pushed for caution and diplomacy. Lissa often found herself caught in the middle, her patience wearing thin. Meanwhile, Daniel Hayes proved invaluable to the mission. His first-hand encounter with the Exithera gave the fleet critical knowledge about their enemy. He described how the biomechanical ships seemed to think for themselves, adapting instantly to any threat. Their surfaces shifted like living organisms, making them nearly impossible to damage with conventional weapons. Daniel's words sent chills through the crew, but they also sparked ideas. If the ships were alive, perhaps they could be disrupted by targeting their central control system, the Hive Mind Core. Emily Dawson's research provided further clues. From her lab on Earth, she sent updates to the fleet, sharing fragments of the ancient alien text she had deciphered. The ruins spoke of a devastating battle fought millennia ago, where united civilizations managed to destroy the Cytheris core. Without it, the swarm collapsed into chaos, unable to function without direction. Emily warned, however, that infighting among the allies afterward allowed the Cythera to regroup over time. Her message was clear. This time, they couldn't afford to fail. As the fleet approached the edge of human territory, tension mounted. Everyone knew that Cythera were close, perhaps even watching. Sensors picked up faint traces of movement in the darkness, but nothing solid enough to confirm. Ryan ordered patrols to scout ahead, sending small teams to investigate suspicious areas. Each report came back empty, yet the sense of being followed grew stronger. One evening, Daniel joined Ryan on the observation deck. The two men stared out at the endless expanse of stars, neither speaking for a long moment. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "Do you think we can win?" he asked quietly. Ryan hesitated before answering. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I do know one thing. We have to try. Not just for us, but for everyone who's counting on us." Daniel nodded, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "I keep thinking about that ship I saw," he said. "It didn't attack me. It just watched, like it was studying me. What if they already know everything about us? What if we're walking right into their trap?" Ryan placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Then we'll fight smarter, not harder. We've got something they don't, a reason to survive." Back in the command center, Lisa reviewed patrol reports, searching for patterns. She noticed something odd. Several ships had detected faint energy signatures near uncharted regions of space. The signals matched descriptions of the Cythera's biomechanical technology. Lisa brought her findings to Ryan immediately. "This could be it," she said, pointing to the map. "If these readings are accurate, the Cythera's main force might be gathering here." Ryan studied the data carefully. "It's risky," he said, "but if we wait too long, they'll come to us, and we won't be ready." He called a meeting with Kale and Syrah, presenting the evidence. After much debate, they agreed to send a small strike team to investigate. Ryan volunteered to lead the mission, knowing it would take someone willing to risk everything to earn the trust of their reluctant allies. As the strike team prepared to depart, Lisa watched from the hangar bay, her heart heavy with worry. She wanted to go with them, but her skills were needed elsewhere. "Be careful," she told Ryan as he climbed aboard the shuttle. "We're counting on you." Ryan gave her a small smile. "Don't worry," he said. "We'll make it back. Together." With that, the shuttle launched into the void, heading toward the unknown. The fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, and failure was not an option. The strike team moved cautiously through the dark, uncharted region of space. Ryan Carter led the mission aboard a small shuttle, flanked by Daniel Hayes and a handful of volunteers from the Coalition fleet. Each member carried their own fears, but they pushed forward, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. The faint energy signatures detected earlier had grown stronger as they approached, confirming their suspicions. Something massive was waiting for them. As they entered the area, the shuttle sensors began to act strangely. Lights flickered, and communication with the fleet became patchy. Daniel frowned at the controls, tapping buttons that no longer responded. "It's like the ship doesn't want us here," he muttered under his breath. Ryan nodded grimly. "Stay sharp," he ordered. "We're close." Suddenly, the shuttle rocked violently as if struck by an invisible force. Alarms blared, and red warning lights flashed across the cabin. Outside the viewport, a swarm of biomechanical creatures emerged from the darkness, their jagged forms glinting menacingly in the dim light. They moved with eerie precision, surrounding the shuttle and cutting off any chance of retreat. "Weapons won't work on these things," one of the crew shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "Then we don't fight," Ryan said firmly. "We find the core." The creatures didn't attack immediately. Instead, they hovered around the shuttle, pulsating faintly as if studying it, or its occupants. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. It was as though the Exithera could sense their intentions. He gave the order to activate the shuttle's stealth systems, hoping to buy them some time. The shuttle's engines powered down, leaving them drifting silently among the swarm. Daniel leaned closer to Ryan, his voice barely above a whisper. "What now?" Ryan pointed to a massive structure looming ahead, a towering, pulsating mass of metal and flesh. Its surface writhed with movement, veins glowing faintly beneath layers of shifting material. "That's the hive mind core," he said. "If Emily's translations are right, that's what controls everything." The team prepared to disembark, suiting up in protective gear designed to shield them from the hostile environment. As they exited the shuttle, the biomechanical swarm parted slightly, allowing them passage but never straying far. Every step felt heavier, the air thick with tension. The ground beneath them vibrated faintly, as if alive. Inside the structure, the walls pulsed rhythmically, mimicking a heartbeat. Strange symbols etched into the surfaces lit up as they passed, casting an unsettling glow over the team. Daniel paused, staring at one of the symbols. "This looks familiar," he said quietly. "It's like the ones on that ship I saw." Ryan nodded. "Focus," he urged. "We don't have much time." They pressed deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, guided by Emily's intel transmitted moments before their connection was lost. At last, they reached a cavernous chamber dominated by a massive, pulsating orb suspended in midair. Tendrils of organic material stretched from the orb to every corner of the room, connecting it to countless smaller nodes. "This is it," Ryan whispered, his voice filled with awe and dread. "This is how they control everything." Before they could act, the swarm closed in, blocking their exit. The biomechanical creatures began to merge, forming larger, more monstrous shapes. Their eyes glowed with cold intelligence, and their movements were deliberate, calculated. Daniel tightened his grip on his weapon. "Now what?" he asked, his voice shaking. Ryan took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Now we finish what we came here to do." He turned to the team. "No matter what happens, we take this thing down." With that, they charged forward, determination outweighing fear. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal. The creatures lashed out with razor-sharp limbs, forcing the team to dodge and weave through the narrow space. Ryan and Daniel worked together, targeting the connections between the orb and its nodes, severing link after link. Each blow weakened the hive mind, causing the structure to tremble violently. But the cost was high. One by one, members of the team fell, overwhelmed by the relentless assault. Blood stained the floor, and cries of pain echoed through the chamber. Finally, only Ryan and Daniel remained. Exhausted and injured, they made a final push toward the orb. Daniel distracted the remaining creatures while Ryan planted explosives on its surface. As the timer ticked down, Ryan shouted, "Fall back." They ran as fast as they could, dodging attacks and narrowly avoiding death. Behind them, The orb erupted in a blinding explosion, sending shockwaves through the entire structure. The walls collapsed inward, and the swarm disintegrated into chaos. Outside, the shuttle waited, its engines roaring to life. Ryan and Daniel barely made it on board before the structure imploded, disappearing into the void. As they sped away, Ryan let out a shaky breath. "It's done," he said. "We did it." But even as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy would never be the same again. The Coalition fleet waited anxiously in the cold silence of space. The strike team had been gone for hours, and communication with them had been cut off entirely. Lieutenant Lisa Monroe paced back and forth on the bridge of the Eclipse asterisk, her eyes glued to the viewport. She kept telling herself that Ryan and Daniel would return, but doubt gnawed at her with every passing minute. Suddenly, a faint signal appeared on the sensors. A small shuttle emerged from the darkness, battered and smoking, its engine sputtering as it limped toward the fleet. Lisa's heart leaped when she recognized the craft. It was Ryan's shuttle. "They're back," she shouted, rushing to the comms. "Prepare medical teams." As the shuttle docked, the crew scrambled to open the hatch. Ryan Carter stepped out first, his uniform torn and bloodied, his face pale with exhaustion. Behind him, Daniel Hayes stumbled out, leaning heavily on Ryan for support. Both men looked like they'd been through hell, and in many ways, they had. Lisa ran to them, relief washing over her face. "You made it," she said, her voice trembling. "What happened?" Ryan gave her a weak smile. "We took out the core," he said simply. His voice was hoarse, but there was a spark of triumph in his eyes. "The swarm, it's collapsing." Before Lisa could respond, alarms blared across the fleet. Sensors detected massive disruptions in nearby space. The Exothera ships were breaking apart, their biomechanical forms dissolving into lifeless fragments. Cheers erupted among the crews, but Ryan raised a hand to quiet them. "It's not over yet," he warned. "There could still be stragglers. Stay alert." Kale and Syrah joined the group, their expressions a mix of gratitude and disbelief. "You've done what no one else could," Kale admitted, his tone grudgingly respectful. "Perhaps humanity is not so weak after all." Syrah nodded, though her gills flared slightly, a sign of lingering unease. "We owe you our thanks," she said. "But this victory comes at great cost. Many lives were lost today." Ryan didn't argue. He knew the price they had paid. The strike team that had accompanied him and Daniel had been wiped out, their sacrifice ensuring the mission's success. As he stood there, battered and bruised, he couldn't help but wonder if it had all been worth it. Back aboard the Eclipse asterisk, Emily Dawson's voice crackled over the comms. She had been monitoring the situation from Earth, piecing together data from the ruins and the battle. "Ryan," she said, her voice filled with urgency, "the hive mind wasn't just controlling the swarm. It was rebuilding itself, growing stronger. If you hadn't destroyed it when you did." She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Ryan closed his eyes, letting the weight of her words sink in. They had stopped the Exothera. For now. But the ancient texts warned that the swarm always found a way to return. Humanity and its allies would need to stay vigilant if they wanted to prevent another attack. In the days that followed, the Coalition fleet began the long journey home. Morale was high, but scars remained. Trust between species was still fragile, and old wounds wouldn't heal overnight. Yet, something had changed. For the first time in years, humanity wasn't seen as an outsider or a deserter. They had fought alongside their former allies and proven their worth. Daniel spent most of his time recovering in the med bay, replaying the mission in his mind. The horrors he had witnessed, the living ships, the endless swarm, would haunt him forever. But he also felt a strange sense of pride. He had faced the impossible and survived. Lisa worked tirelessly to rebuild relationships within the fleet, earning respect from both humans and aliens alike. Her efforts laid the groundwork for future cooperation. though she knew it would take time to fully repair the damage caused by humanity's isolation. As the fleet approached Earth, Ryan stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He thought about the sacrifices made, the lives lost, and the fragile peace they had forged. Redemption wasn't easy, but it was possible. And as hard as the road ahead might be, Ryan knew one thing for certain. Humanity could no longer afford to turn its back on the galaxy. The universe had prepared for war, and humanity had finally chosen to stand and fight. *** document. Part 7 ***. The * eclipse * and the Coalition fleet returned to Earth amid celebrations that echoed across the planet. News of their victory spread quickly, and for the first time in years, humanity felt a sense of pride, not just in themselves, but in their ability to work with others. Massive crowds gathered at spaceports to welcome the survivors home, cheering as Ryan Carter and his crew stepped off the ship. Yet, beneath the cheers and applause, there was an undercurrent of sorrow. Too many lives had been lost, and the scars of battle would linger for generations. Captain Ryan stood on a stage in front of thousands, addressing the crowd with quiet determination. "We didn't win this fight alone," he said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "It took every species, every hand, every heart to push back the darkness. And if we've learned anything, it's that we're stronger together." Beside him, Lieutenant Lisa Monroe nodded in agreement. She had spent weeks coordinating efforts between the alien commanders and human leaders, forging bonds that had once seemed impossible. The mistrust wasn't gone. It would take years to fully heal, but the foundation had been laid. Humanity was no longer seen as an outsider. They were part of something greater. Emily Dawson continued her work in the Arctic, poring over the ancient ruins with renewed urgency. The destruction of the hive mind core had stopped the Exithera, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't truly over. The text spoke of cycles, of the swarm retreating only to regroup and return stronger than before. She dedicated herself to finding ways to prevent another attack, knowing that humanity's survival depended on staying one step ahead. Daniel Hayes, now hailed as a hero, struggled to adjust to life after the mission. He attended ceremonies and gave interviews, but the nightmares never left him. The memory of the biomechanical creatures, their cold, unfeeling eyes, haunted his dreams. Still, he found purpose in training new pilots, sharing his experiences to prepare them for whatever might come next. "If I can save even one person from what I went through," he told himself, "it'll be worth it." Across the galaxy, Kale and Syrah worked to rebuild trust among their own people. The Varans and Nimari had suffered heavy losses during the battle, and some questioned whether aligning with humanity had been a mistake. But both ambassadors reminded their citizens of the alternative, a galaxy consumed by the Exithera. Slowly, grudgingly, unity began to take root. As months passed, the coalition grew stronger. Joint patrols scoured the edges of known space, searching for any signs of the Cythera's return. Research teams collaborated to study the remnants of the swarm, hoping to unlock its secrets. Humanity opened its borders to trade and diplomacy, eager to prove they were ready to shoulder their share of responsibility. But deep in the void, far beyond the reach of sensors or scanners, fragments of the Exithera drifted silently. Tiny shards of living metal floated in the darkness, pulsing faintly with residual energy. They were pieces of the swarm, disconnected from the hive mind, but still alive. Over time, they began to move, slowly at first, then faster, drawn toward each other like magnets. In the end, the universe held its breath. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Humanity had taken its first steps toward redemption, earning a fragile place among the stars. But the galaxy was vast and full of dangers, and peace was never guaranteed. Ryan often thought about this as he gazed at the night sky. He knew that Cythera might return someday, stronger and more relentless than ever. But he also knew that humanity, and its allies, would be ready. Together, they had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. And together, They would face whatever came next. For now, though, there was hope. Hope that the mistakes of the past wouldn't be repeated. Hope that unity could overcome division. Hope that the stars, once so distant and cold, might shine a little brighter because of what they had achieved. And somewhere, in the endless expanse of space, the remnants of the HFY waited, silent, patient, watching.